Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, a Powell County woman dies after her clothes catch fire. Why officials say open flames can be more dangerous than you think. And we'll take a look back at the life of civil rights activist Jesse Jackson and remember his visits to Hazard.
And today was quiet. Shower chances pick up for Wednesday, but all eyes are on Thursday. Details in the First Alert forecast coming up.
Dedicated to southern and eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. A Powell County woman's death is bringing to light the dangers of open flames in your home. Firefighters say 75-year-old Linda Snowden was injured after her clothes caught fire. She was flown to Cincinnati last week, where she died Sunday. Madison Porter has more.
Linda Snowden lived on this quiet street in Clay City. Neighbors say not much happens around here, which is why when they heard of Linda's accident, they were all sad. However, some are gathering around Linda's sister, still living here, who told me that the two of them were very close. Investigators are still trying to figure out what caused her clothing to catch fire at her home. The Clay City Fire Department educates the community about appropriate clothing around an open flame. Major Lisa Johnson says clothing is the #1 cause of burn injuries from a flame. She says some of the most common burn incidents come from cooking, candles, lighters, and bonfires.
I wouldn't be around them with your loose clothing because you could be walking, go by a candle, and it's going to get your pant leg. I mean, there's just so many hazards to it.
Johnson says fire spreads more quickly on fabric. The Clay City Fire Department doesn't receive a lot of calls for burn injuries, but Johnson says when they do, they're serious.
You're wearing it. That's your clothing you have on. That's why a lot of times when we go in, like forest fires and that, you'll see them tucking their pants.
She also warns people of spraying too much cologne or hairspray before being near an open flame. She says you have to be alert, even in your own home.
Little stuff like that, lighters, I mean, combustible things.
In Clay City, Madison Porter, WKYT.
Major Lisa Johnson says firefighters visit the schools in town to start fire education early. A Kentucky man who won the Powerball jackpot last year has been arrested again. James Farthing won a $167 million Powerball jackpot after buying a winning ticket in Georgetown last year. That was in April, shortly after he was arrested and accused of assaulting a police officer in Florida. He's now charged with intimidating a participant in the legal process. Deputies responded to a home on Cynthiana Road February 11th after a woman reported people there had a weapon and wanted to hurt her. They found marijuana and a gun. The complaint says Farthing picked up the woman for a prearranged meetup. She told police she felt pressured by Farthing to take a gummy. He's due in court April 2nd. In Davis County, state police arrested a pastor after investigators say he engaged in a sexual relationship with a minor. Troopers took David Rogers into custody last night before booking him into the Davis County Jail without bond. Rogers faces several charges, including rape and sodomy. He was listed as a worship pastor on Pleasant Grove Baptist Church's website. A man was arrested in connection with a shooting that happened near the campus of Western Kentucky University in Bowling Green. Christopher Meza Ramirez was charged with first-degree assault in connection with the shooting. It happened during the weekend. The man who was shot was taken to a hospital in Nashville for treatment. Ramirez had a preliminary hearing scheduled for Friday. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul announced the introduction of the End the Vaccine Carve-Out Act today. The legislation aims to remove liability protections from manufacturers and administrators of vaccinations from civil action in the case of vaccine-related injury or death. The act will also amend the Public Readiness and Emergency Preparedness Act by excluding COVID-19 vaccines from the definition of covered countermeasures. It was introduced in the House by Congressman Paul Gosar of Arizona and is co-sponsored by Senator Mike Lee of Utah. Lawmakers are now considering two new bills aimed at improving maternal health care in Tennessee. One of the bills would prevent emergency rooms from turning away pregnant women who are having a medical emergency or are in active labor. The other bill would use federal funding to start a program to help mothers whose pregnancies end in stillbirth. They would be able to use that money to pay for burials. Both bills are still in the early phases and have to pass through several committees in Tennessee before making it onto the House floor. A Tennessee lawmaker wants to stiffen the penalties for someone who encourages or helps someone commit or attempt suicide. Representative Ryan Williams says the proposed law is inspired by a Knoxville woman. She died after a man encouraged her to place a bullet in a revolver, spin it, and put it to her head and pull the trigger. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison. That's the maximum penalty under current law. Williams wants that penalty to be increased to up to 12 years in prison. The House Judiciary Committee will consider the bill tomorrow. 2 people were hurt in a crash in Rockcastle County this morning. It happened on Rose Hill Road near Lake Linville. Kentucky State Police say a woman was driving an SUV when she ran off the road and hit a tree. Both she and her juvenile passenger were hurt. 2 helicopters were called to fly them out from a landing pad at Rockcastle County High School. State police are investigating the cause of the crash. We've certainly felt some spring-like weather today with temperatures getting into the 60s, but that warmth is setting us up for some rain and even maybe some thunderstorms. Meteorologist Eric
That's right, Steve. We do have a first alert weather day out for Thursday because of the chance of thunderstorm activity pushing through in the evening, going into the overnight hours and into the early morning hours of your Friday. Heavy wind, a little bit of hail, some vivid lightning, and maybe a spin up or two. Certainly not out of the realm of possibility. Temperatures right now in the low to mid 60s. Look at Somerset, Monticello, 66 degrees, 63 in London, 63 in Hazard, 56 in Grundy, 10 warmer near Prestonsburg. Here's the satellite radar right now. High pressure is in control, and you can see it right here. We are on the back end of that, which is why that wind is still coming out of the south and the southwest, just shy of 10 miles per hour. We're at 63 degrees at the airport. Our dew point is at 36. Humidity is sitting at 37%. If you have plans over the next 12 hours, that cloud cover will thicken, but temperatures, all in all, not bad. Upper 50s, low 60s by the time you join us tonight for Mountain News at 11. When you wake up in the morning, temperatures in the mid-50s will greet you. But all eyes are on Thursday. Details coming up in the first alert forecast in a few minutes. Steve.
Eric, thanks. Tributes have been pouring in for civil rights leader and trailblazing presidential candidate Jesse Jackson. Jackson died peacefully this morning in Chicago, according to his nonprofit. He was 84 years old. Karen Kaifa reports from Washington.
Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive.
The Reverend Jesse Jackson, a protege of the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., who became a towering civil rights leader himself, has died at age 84.
Make no mistake about it, Jesse Jackson was unique in American history, and I hope that his legacy lives on. A new generation of Americans who might draw from that energy.
Jackson died peacefully and surrounded by his family, according to a statement from the Rainbow Push Coalition, the nonprofit social justice organization he founded. He had been hospitalized in recent months as he dealt with a degenerative brain disease, progressive supranuclear palsy. Jackson's passing mourned Tuesday by those who worked closely with him.
He never stopped. I once said to him, "You already in history. You've gotten all the honors. Why do you keep going?" He said, "I never learned how to retire."
And by those inspired by him.
He taught us to get involved, to be involved with helping the next person, being an example for the next person.
More than 2 decades before Barack Obama was elected the first black president of the United States, Jackson made White House bids in 1984 and 1988.
We must come together.
And challenged Democrats to expand and reshape the party.
He shifted the party and shifted the rules of the party to bring more people in. How many people owe their political lives to what Jesse Jackson did? He never just ran for himself.
In a statement, the NAACP called Jackson, quote, a lifelong soldier for justice. In Washington, I'm Karen Kaifa.
Well, Reverend Jackson visited Kentucky several times, including 2 stops in Hazard. The first was almost exactly 38 years ago on February 25th, 1988. He was a Democratic candidate for president at the time. He spoke to folks at Memorial Gym and later ate at Bailey's Restaurant, a well-known place to gather for years. He returned to Hazard in 1999 with President Bill Clinton to promote the so-called New Markets Initiative.
And so I say today, hold on to your faith. Hold on to your family. In times of crisis, let's turn to each other, not on each other. Let's love each other. Let's love our nation. Let's love our God. There are difficult times. When times get difficult, don't panic. Don't surrender. Don't become mean-spirited. Become loving. Become caring. Become prayerful. Weeping may endure for a night, the writer says, but hold on to your faith, and joy cometh in the morning. Hazard, it's joy time. It's morning time. It's new markets time. God bless you, and keep hope alive.
Those on stage with Jackson and President Clinton that hot day in July included Governor Paul and Judy Patton, Hazard Mayor Bill Gorman and his wife Nan, and the voice of the Wildcats, Kaywood Ledford. The event was carried live on WYMT. 2 people plus the suspect died after a shooting in Rhode Island yesterday. Officials say the shooter opened fire at a youth hockey game, which also resulted in 3 people being critically hurt. Authorities say the shooter was stopped after a spectator intervened. Police say the assailant died from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. Authorities are investigating the mass shooting while it remains not entirely clear who was targeted or why. The Nancy Guthrie investigation is facing a setback. The sheriff says DNA from gloves found near her home did not return any matches. It was processed through the FBI's DNA database, which contains more than 19 million offender samples. It also does not match DNA found at the home. DNA from the property is still being analyzed. Detectives are also reviewing evidence they got through 2 search warrants that were executed last week. 2 people were hurt after an alleged stabbing incident in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Members with the Myrtle Beach Police Department responded to the incident around midnight on North Ocean Boulevard. The road in that area was shut down for several hours after victims had to be rushed to a hospital. Police told our sister station there is not a current threat to the public pertaining to the case. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, the CEO of Meta is set to provide testimony in a courtroom soon. We'll tell you what it's all about.
And in the world of weather, shower chances will pick up for the day on Wednesday. Details coming up.